telling you a little bit about my journey and how I got from where I was then to where I am now. Is that all right? Yeah? Going to be 5 top tips from business networking. Start with tip number 6. Go on. No. And they don't get any better. If you're a 4N member and you're not doing the foresight slot yet, please force yourself to do so. Make yourself do so. You don't remember everyone's 40 seconds this morning. I'll come back to that in a second as to why you don't remember. But you do remember the guy in the flowery shirt and the glasses who stood up and did the foresight. So if you're not using this as part of your 4N membership, then please do so. And I'm standing up in front of you now doing the foresight, but my very first experience of business networking was a bit different. It was late November 2005, and in late November 2005, I've been an estate agent for about 18 years. Okay, it's a better response than I usually get.
Just sharpening the knives.
Estate agents get business networking. We'd always taken the local financial advisor out for lunch. We'd always got to know the local solicitors. We always knew the local accountants. Estate agency is this archetypal local business, where if you know all of the other local businesses around you, that will be very good for your business. So we'd always done business networking. But I'd never been invited along to something actually called a business networking breakfast. And then in late November 2005, a friend of mine called Sharon invited me along to Witney Big Breakfast. I live in the town, or just outside the town of Witney in Oxfordshire, David Cameron's constituency. We've got great libraries, our bins get collected. True. Sadly true. But I got invited along to Witney Big Breakfast. Late November 2005, pulled up in the car park of the Fleece Hotel in Witney. It's 6:45 in the morning. So it's late November, it's dark, it's cold, it's drizzling. This is a little bit out of my comfort zone. In estate agency, people come to you. They come into your office, or I was very in my comfort zone, sat in their house. But this is a little bit out of my comfort zone, so I've pulled into the car parking space, and I'm just sort of sorting out my head before I go into this meeting. And as I'm sitting in the car parking space, in my rear view mirror, I can see other people arriving in the dark. But as other people are getting out of their car, they're getting out and they're spotting someone else and they're saying, "Morning, how are you?" and going in together. Or they're getting out and they're cuddling someone and then they're going into the meeting together. And I'm going to be the new boy walking in. Oh, bless you, I've never had that before. So, I get my head together, still feeling a little bit nervous and tense about it, walk across the car park, open the door to the Fleece Hotel, but their conference room, you just open the door and you're straight into it. So I open the door, 16 or 17 people in there, and the very second thing that I notice about it is that everyone's standing around in little gaggles and groups. Everyone's having conversations about their families, their businesses. These are all people who obviously know each other very well, except for the visitor who's walking in for the first time. And Sharon, who'd invited me, wasn't there yet. That's the very second thing I noticed. The very first thing I noticed was that it's late November 2005. Witney Big Breakfast still meets once a month. So it's their last meeting before Christmas 2005. All of the members had circulated an email saying, wouldn't it be fun if we all turned up this morning wearing Christmas hats? All the members. Sharon had invited me but hadn't told anyone I was coming. So I'm walking in. There's a big group of people who obviously all know each other very well and I'm the new boy, and there's this joke going on that I'm not part of yet. But it's all right because the people at Witney are quite polite. They get me in, they get me sat down. I'm sat next to, and I remember this vividly, David, who's an accountant, and Jamie, who sells light bulbs and batteries. To this day, it's only ever the visitor who sits next to Jamie McIntyre. Come back to that in a second. True. But they get me sat down, and I think this is all right. If David, the accountant, gets to know a little bit about my business, he's dealing with people's finances, he's dealing with local people, local businesses. If I just get chatting to him and he gets to know a little bit about me, that will be good for my word of mouth marketing. And Jamie pushes doors for a living. He walks in and out of shops all day and offices selling light bulbs and batteries. £270,000 turnover in his first year. It's now a £2-point-something million business. Really inspirational guy. He was just out of the RAF then when I met him. But if Jamie gets to know me, he's one of those people that's talking to everyone in Witney all the time. and West Oxfordshire, and he'll get to know me and he'll be telling people about my business, and I thought, okay, I can see this, I can get the hang of this. Then the formal part of the meeting starts, and they hadn't told me about the Christmas hats. I'd never been to a business networking meeting before, so I didn't know the next bit either, which is when Tony, the chairman, invites Sharon to stand up and introduce her business. And Sharon stands up and does this very confident, professional presentation about McDonald's hotels, why we should all use McDonald's hotels for our meetings. And Sharon does this for about 60 seconds and sits down. And then the person next to Sharon stands up and again, very confident about their business, drops a couple of jokes in there, everyone's laughing. The thing that I'm most scared of, still, just have worked out ways to cope with it these days, is standing up in front of people and speaking. Since late November 2005, I've had quite a lot of hypnotherapy, NLP, and presentation skills training, believe it or not. So these days I can do it. Late November 2005, this was not my thing at all. Like, to a very, very big degree, it wasn't my thing. I'm not listening to what the people are saying as they're standing up. I'm going 7, 6, and it's going to be me, 5. And I'm starting to think, actually, and if you've ever been there, my stomach's gone like this, there's no spit left in my mouth, no breath left either. This really, really is something that I don't want to do in a couple of minutes' time. 5 people and it's going to be me. Do I make up some sort of excuse? Do I say, sorry, phone's buzzing? Oh, right, it's the wife. Excuse me. What, really? Really, one of the boys? Okay. That would have been less ridiculous. Do I make up some sort of excuse and get out of the room? 3, 2, 1. Gets to Jamie McIntyre, who's sat next to me. Jamie stands up and says, I'm Jamie McIntyre from Abacus Light Bulbs and Batteries. I will beat any price you're paying for your light bulbs and batteries. Tell me what you're paying and I'll beat it. In fact, lie to me about what you're paying for your light bulbs and batteries. True. I did this back in Whitney just before Christmas, and apparently that's not a bad impression. No one who knows Jamie McIntyre ever sits next to him. And Jamie sits down and I stand up and say, I'm Stefan from Abbey Properties, and sit down again. But I thought this would be good for my business. If just these 16 people in the room get to know about this estate agent, then word would start to get out there. So carry on with Whitney Big Breakfast, get to enjoy that quite well. Start to get the odd referral. I specialised in selling houses where people had died, true. That was the latter part of my estate agency career. And started to get referrals on that sort of basis. That was late November 2005. Fast forward May the 30th, 2007, about 8:15 in the morning. And someone who had been my friend since I was a teenager, had been my friend since I was a teenager, and who I thought was my business partner at the time. We weren't, apparently. Found that out later on that day. He sends me an email. It's 8:15 in the morning. He's sat at his desk. I'm sat at my desk. We're 5 miles away from each other. But the telephone's been invented. We've known each other since the mid-1980s. And he sends me an email. An email says, basically, the bottom's gone out of my world. I've been there for 18 months without paying myself. All my money had gone. Also, my job had gone at that point, and my way of making a living. Just to put this into context, and I'm not bitter, but David drives an Aston Martin. There's a much longer story to all of this, but... So, I've got this email. It's May the 30th. Anyone pay a mortgage? I wasn't getting paid that day, and I'd run out of money. Mortgage has got to be paid. Mortgage has got to be paid the next month, the month after that. So after a few days of wallowing and drinking quite a lot of red wine, the business, which is now called No Red Braces, came into existence. It started off as a little local magazine, because I had quite a lot of local contacts, so I thought that would be all right. But estate agents are marketers. I didn't come from a background of sales. I wasn't Jamie McIntyre. Going out there and flogging my business to everyone wasn't my thing. But I cottoned on to this fact that I was getting a lot of support from Whitney Big Breakfast, and actually business networking could really work for me now. So carried on with Whitney Big Breakfast, joined BNI, someone then phoned me one day and said, I found out about this thing called 4 Networking, you need to join 4 Networking, so I joined that as well, and sort of scraped together enough money to do that. But the energy had really changed now. From going from something which I quite enjoyed going along to once a week, it had changed to now I actually need to turn a coin. Now I need to actually get some money in not every so often, get some money in pretty regularly and actually make some money out of this sales environment which I find myself in. So, where are we now? That was May 2007, joined 4 Networking in October 2007, so 4.5 years later. This is breakfast number 477, just with 4 Networking. 477 cooked vegetarian breakfasts. I didn't get this size by accident.
No.
Oh, and that's the best one. But that's also the best laugh I've ever had for it. But I've also made 16,000 posts on the 4 Networking forum, less than 30 of which were adverts for my business. Along the way, I've picked up clients such as Barrett's Shoes, who until Christmas had 4,500 employees. They've now got about 1,900 employees, but they're still a client, thankfully. Jam Media Response in Elstree, North London, TLC Business Supplies in Harrogate, 4 Networking themselves, who not only became a client, but these days I have the role of community leader with 4N, and lots of other clients along the way. And I've whittled down over the next few minutes or so, 5 of the things which I've done to make this work, and I'll spend the last 5 minutes telling you about that. Is that all right with you?
Yeah.
When someone's presenting, if they ask you a question and they're taking a sip, it means they're nervous and just want to buy a bit of time, just so you know. So, tip number 1, I'm going to talk about 40 seconds because I find this is much misunderstood. Your 40 seconds isn't about selling your business to everyone else in the room. Your 40 seconds isn't actually about asking for referrals from everyone else in the room. There's a whole load of people who aren't listening to your 40 seconds whilst you're presenting it. There's a whole load of people who are going 7, 6. They're not being impolite, but there's a lot of 40 seconds to listen to in the room. Your 40 seconds, in my opinion, it's only opinion, are for selling people on the idea of having a one-to-one with you. If you think about 4 Networking as a really useful sales funnel, where we've got the one-to-ones within meeting time, your 40 seconds, in my opinion, are about selling people on the idea of having a one-to-one with you. Giving them enough information that they want to find out more about you. Tip 1A, incidentally, any other piece of marketing material which you put together, any leaflet, any website, it is going to have a call to action on it. I always strongly suggest to people that they put a call to action into their 40 seconds. If you'd like to find out more, ask me for a one-to-one.